Okay, the first thing you're going to have to do is go to Google and type in Scratch. Once you do that, the first website should be scratch.mit.edu. Click on that link and you'll have a website that looks like this. Click on Join Scratch at the top and it will ask you to choose a Scratch username. Now I want you to use your school username, and then when it asks you for a password, for now I want you to put password 1. Type that in again and then press next. It will then ask you for your birth month and year, so you can enter that. Let's say 99. Choose your gender and change the country to United Kingdom. If you press U, it will jump straight down to the U's. Press next and it will ask you for an email address. Your email address is your school username at arthurterry.beham.sch.uk. You'll need to type that in twice. It doesn't allow you to copy and paste it, so you do have to type it in twice. Once you've done that, press next. It'll tell you that you're now logged in and you can start exploring and creating projects. They also send you a link to your email, which we can check later on. Press OK, let's go, and it will take you to the Scratch homepage again. Up here we have a button that says Create. If you click on Create, it will open up an editor. The first thing that you need to do when you've got this open is to go to File and click on Save Now. So File and Save Now, and it will automatically save your work. If you want to change the name, which you should do, you need to type that in here. What I want you to do for now is to type in Cars. So do File, Save Now, and that will save it as Cars. Once you've saved your file, we need to get rid of the cat sprite. So if you right click on the cat down here and go to Delete, it should disappear off the screen. We then need to draw out the road, so click on Backdrops at the top and you'll get a simple paint editor. If you choose a grey colour and then make the brush line width quite big, then what we can do is draw a simple road on the screen. You'll probably want to take a little bit more time to do this than I am, so it should look something like that. We then need to fill in all the white bits with a green colour, so select green and then use the Fill with Colour tool and click on all of the white sections so that it fills in the grass. What we then need to do is, using a blue or any colour of your choice, but blue we could pretend is water, what I want you to do is to draw inside the green part like a lake or some sand if you want to choose yellow. And what this is going to do, it's going to stop the cars from cutting the corners and cheating on our game. So you could draw red barriers, or like I say, sand or water. Again, once you've done that, if you want to use the fill tool to fill that in, you should end up with something that looks like this. Okay, once you've drawn your background, what we then need to do is to draw a car. To do that, if you click on this icon here, which is Paint New Sprite, that will again open up a simple paint editing tool here. What we need to do is, we need to draw a car from a bird's eye view as though it's driving to the right hand side of the screen. Now I'm going to do a very simple car in this video, but you can make yours as complex as you like. So draw out a rectangle, then I'm going to draw another rectangle for one of the wheels, and then the same over here. Again, you can make yours as complicated as you like, and then just so that the person playing the game knows which way the car's pointing, we'll draw some headlights at the front. So I'm going to use the fill tool to fill that in. You'll notice on the left hand side of the screen this car at the moment is very big. We'll make that smaller in a moment. Okay, so I've got a red car that looks like it's driving to the right at a bird's eye point of view. What I'm then going to do, I'm going to click on the shrink tool at the top and click repeatedly on the car until it shrinks to a suitable size for our game. If you then click anywhere on the track, it will get rid of that and you can move your car to the start point. What we're then going to do is we're going to rename our sprite so that it says red car, which makes our code easier to do later on. So to start with, click on scripts at the top, then make sure you've clicked on the car up here, right mouse click down here, and you should get a menu that opens up. If this doesn't open up, try right clicking on the screen, clicking back onto the car and trying again. It just seems a little bit temperamental. Once you've done that, click on info and you'll be given the name, and what we want to do is call it red car. Keep it all one word so it doesn't cause any problems. Click on this little back arrow and that'll take us back to our code. Making sure that we've got the car selected so there's a blue line around it, and making sure that we've clicked on scripts, we can then start to put some code over here that is going to make our car move and steer. To do that, we're going to first click on the events tab and we're going to say when the flag, which is this up here, is clicked, we want the program to start running. Now what we want it to do is, in the control tab, we want it to do something forever. So we use what we call a forever loop, and whatever we put inside this will keep looping round and doing it until the game ends. So we put the forever, and you'll notice as you go just underneath the when flag is clicked block, you get a thick white line and it will snap it together like a jigsaw piece. What we're then going to use is we're going to use this if then else box. So this is an if statement, and we're going to say if something is happening. In this case we're going to say if our car is touching green, then we only want it to move slowly. If not, then we want the car to move quite quickly. And we're going to want this to happen forever. So what we need to do is we need to put it inside the forever loop. Not underneath it, it needs to go inside so that the forever expands and goes around our if-else statement. So what we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to say if the car is touching green. So what we need to do is we need to sense that. So you click on the sensing tab and we use the touching colour. At the moment it's pink, but we can change that. So if touching colour, and if you click on the pink and then move your mouse over to the green and click with the left mouse, you'll see that it's changed it to the correct green colour. So we're now saying if our car is touching green, then we want it to move slowly. So in the motion tab, we're going to choose move. At the moment it says 10 steps. Now that's very quick. What we are going to change that to is 0.5. So if it's touching green, only move 0.5 steps. In the motion tab again, we're going to choose another move, and we're going to put this in the else section. So if it's not touching green, which is what the else means, then we want it to move 2 steps. Once we've done that, we can test that it works. To do that, click on the flag and this will start the program running. So as you can see, the car moves quite quickly until it touches the green, when it starts to go slowly. So at the moment it's going round this. It's touching green, so it's moving 0.5. When it stops touching green, it starts moving quickly again. So you'll notice that as it moves itself off the green, it'll go to this part of the code and it'll start moving quickly. Press the stop button before it goes off the screen so that you can move your car back to the starting point. Okay, now what we need to do is get the car steering. So to do that, click on the control tab, and this time we're just going to use a simple if. Drag the if so it goes just underneath the other if. not inside it or it won't work. It has to go just underneath, and you'll know that's correct if you've got a straight line down the left hand side of both of the if statements. What we're then going to do is we're going to sense, by clicking on the sensing tab, whether or not a certain key has been pressed. So we use the key pressed lozenge. We don't want it to be the space key, however, we want it to be the right arrow. So we're saying if the right arrow is pressed, then do this. And what we want it to do is we want it to turn right a number of degrees. Now a good starting point is if you choose 2. You can always change it later if your car or your track needs it to turn more or less. That will depend on how you've designed your car and your track. We also need to do the same to make the car turn left. So we do Control, if, and again make sure it's underneath, if key left arrow is pressed, then we want the motion to turn left by 2 degrees. We can check that works by clicking on the flag, and as we drive we can now steer. At the moment the blue water allows us to drive across it, however we'll sort that out later. So you can have a little go and just check that it's turning enough or not enough. Now for mine it's just about correct. I can just get around the corners, but it's not ridiculously easy. So press the stop so that your program stops running, and then we can start to do the next bit. So we can drive around the track. It slows down if we touch the green, but we need to do the bit that stops us driving across the blue water or yellow sand, whatever you might have chosen for the middle. Now to do that we're going to use another if, the same as we did for the turning, and again it needs to be underneath all of the other ifs. And what we're going to say is if we are touching a certain colour, and you need to click on this box here and then choose the colour that's in your map. It could be blue or yellow or red, whatever you've decided. Click on that so that it sets the colour there. So we're saying if the car is touching blue, then what we want it to do is we want it to bounce backwards. So to do that we put move, and a good one to start with is -10. So it's going to move backwards because of the minus, and it's going to move backwards 10 steps. Now it's going to be a good idea to test that works. So press run and turn your car around so that it's facing the blue, and hopefully it will bounce back and stop you from crossing across the water. That should stop people cutting the corners and making the game pretty useless. Okay, now the next bit that we need to do is we need to get the car to go to the start line every time that we press the flag. To do that, what we're going to do is in the motion tab we're going to say go to X and then a number, and Y and then a number. I'll explain how that works in a second. So if we drag that into here, and what we want to do is we want to put it just above the forever, because we don't want it to constantly go to that place. We want it just to go there once when we press the flag. So it'll do this, and then it'll keep doing all of this forever until the game ends. Now the point that you want your car to move is going to be different for each of you. The X value and the Y value are shown down here. So if I roughly want my car to start here, if you look at those X and Y values that are moving around, that should tell you the values that you need to put in. You may need to change them slightly, but it gives you a good idea. So roughly my X is -207 and the Y is 29. So in here, X -207 and the Y was 29. Now we can check that works by clicking on the flag, and hopefully your car should go to the right place. Every time I click it, it should go back to there. What we want it to do to make it a little bit more useful is we want it to not start straight away. What we want it to do is we want the car to do a countdown to the start so that you get time to prepare and get ready to steer around the corners. So what we're going to do is in the looks tab here, what we're going to say is say something for a number of seconds, and we're going to put that just underneath the go to bit at the start. And what we're going to say is we want it to say 3 for 1 second. Then we're going to put another one in, and we're going to say we want it to say 2 for 1 second. Then we're going to put another one that says 1, and we want it to say it for 1 second. And then finally we're going to have it say go, 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 and we're going to have it saying that for half a second. So when we now press the flag, the car goes to the start, it does a countdown, says go, 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 and then it starts to drive. The only problem is it's driving down the screen, whereas I want my car to go this way around the track. So what I'm going to have to do in the motion tab is I'm going to say point in direction, and I'm going to put it just underneath the go to X and the first say block, and I'm going to say point in direction up, which should be 0. And we test that works by clicking the flag, and as you can see my headlights are now at the top. It's going to count down and it's going to allow me to start driving around the track. Now my game at the moment is quite easy. To change that, all you would need to do is change how many steps the car is moving when it isn't touching green. So I could change that to 3 and it would make my car run quicker. Again, you'll need to choose a number that's suitable for your track. So now that's making it much more difficult to get around the corners, which is going to make the game a little bit more playable. What we're going to do next is we're going to include a timer into our program. Now to do that, we're going to set up another routine over here. So we're going to go back into events, and we're going to have when flag clicked again. This time what we're going to do is we're going to first include the timer, and then we're going to tell this to reset the timer each time the program starts. So in the, I can't remember, I'll have a look, bear with me. Okay, in the sensing tab we need to tick this box that says timer, and it will put a timer up here which we can move around to wherever we want on the screen. So there's probably a good place for mine, it's just off the track. As you can see, the timer's constantly running, so what we want it to do is we want it to reset as soon as our program says go, 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 which isn't actually at the start of the program. It's 3.5 seconds in, and the reason for that is because it says 3 for a second, then 2, then 1, which adds up to 3 seconds. It then says go, go, go for half a second before the car starts moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to wait. So in the control at the top we've got wait seconds, and we're going to say wait for 3.5 seconds, and then what we want it to do is to reset the timer. So in sensing, just underneath the timer, we've got reset timer. So what will happen is now when we press the flag, it'll wait 3.5 seconds, and then it will reset the timer back to 0 again so that it doesn't start too early. Okay, so we've now got the car moving, we've got it steering, we've got it going slow, we've got it reversing if it touches blue, and we've also got a timer, which at the moment is pretty pointless because it doesn't really tell us anything because there's no end point to our track. So that's the bit that we're going to do next. So what you're going to do down here is, again we're going to go to paint new sprite, and what we're going to draw is a finishing line. So to do that I'm going to use black and white rectangles. I'm going to click this button to say that it needs to be a filled in rectangle or square, and I'm going to draw one here like this. Then I'm going to copy it by right mouse clicking. No, I'm not, because that doesn't work. I'm going to go to something else. I don't know what it is yet because my brain stopped working. Okay, so what you need to do, make sure it's selected, do Control and C and then Control and V, and it will paste your rectangle like that. And what we want is a pattern that looks like this. If your Control C and Control V aren't working, don't worry. What we're then going to do is also have some white shapes filling in the gaps. So again, Control and C, Control and V to paste, and fill in all of the gaps. The reason we have to put the white ones in is because the background is transparent and all you'll see is black squares. So once we've done that, we can go back to scripts, and don't panic that everything's disappeared. The reason for that is because we have sprite 1 selected. If you click back on red car, all your code will come back. But what we want to do is we want to rename sprite 1 by right clicking, going to info, and we'll call it finish line. Again, all one word, and click the back arrow. As you can see, the finish line is massive at the moment, so we need to use the shrink tool to shrink that down. Click off it and then drag it so that it's roughly the size of your track. I might be able to shrink it once more. There we go, so that we can put it near a finish line. To check it's in the right place, if you click the flag, you can see where your car starts. So I could probably go a little bit higher with mine, but make sure it's not touching the car. If it is, it will cause you all sorts of problems later on. So once we've got that in place and we've got our car working, make sure you click back on red car so that we get all of our script back up. And what we now need to do is we want it to check whether or not we've driven around the track and touch this finish line here. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to add another if statement in by clicking on control and then dragging down an if and putting it underneath all of the other ifs. Okay, once you've got your if down there, what we're going to say is we're going to sense whether or not it is touching, and you'll get a drop down box, and we can say, is it touching the finish line? If it is touching the finish line, then what we want the car to do is in the looks tab, we want it to say something, and then we're going to get it to wait. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it to say, and rather than saying a specific word, what we can do in the sensing tab is put in a little block called timer and put it inside there. So it's going to say timer, which is whatever the current time was. And what we then want it to do is we want it to wait and give us enough time to take that in and read it. So about 4 seconds. We can then reset the timer. So sensing, reset timer, and put that underneath. Make sure it goes inside this last if. And then what we want it to do is we want the whole program to stop because it's game over. So we choose stop all. See, I've accidentally put that underneath the if. Just remove it so that it goes up inside there. So now when we click on the flag, we should be able to drive around the track, slowing down if we touch the green bits. I'm not very good, as you can tell. I think I need to make my car turn a little bit more. Oh, I've got stuck. Okay, when it touches the flag, it saves the time and it stops the program once it's said the time for 4 seconds. What you could do, if you wanted to, you could tell the car after this point, after the time has been reset, to go back to the start, just so that it doesn't stay down here. That's up to you. If you want to do that, just put a go to XY just above the stop all, and it'll make it go back to the start before the game ends. Okay, not that this game isn't amazing enough already. What we actually want it to do is be a 2-player game. So we need another car. So to do that, instead of making everything again, if you right click on red car and go to duplicate, you'll get another car here that has all the exact same code. So you can see if I click on it, which I have done, all the code will be the same. We just need to edit it a little bit so that it makes it a 2-player game. So if you right click on the car and go to info, we'll change the name of it and we'll call it yellow car. It's important that you don't choose a colour that is on your background. So don't choose green or blue in my case, otherwise when the two cars touch each other it will cause one to slow down or go backwards. So I'm going to call mine yellow car. If you've chosen sand, then perhaps have a blue car. Click on the back arrow to take us back to here, and we now obviously need to change this to be yellow. So with it selected, click on costumes, use the fill tool and colour yellow to colour that car in yellow. We can then go back to the scripts, and you'll see we've got all the code still over here. Now we want it to do pretty much exactly the same as the other car. However, if we press run, the yellow car has gone on top of the red car, which is obviously not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to slightly change the go to XY coordinates so that it roughly starts over here. So as you can see, that is minus 177 and 32. However, to make it exactly in line with that, we best keep the Y value the same, which is the up and down coordinate. So we'll have it move to minus 174 and then 29. So minus 174, and we'll keep 29 the same. If we click on the flag, you can see that the car has gone just to the right hand side of it. However, if we press it, both of the cars are talking, which is pretty pointless. So what we're going to do is we're going to say remove all of this from the yellow car. Now to do that, if we need to split the blocks up to start with, so we drag that down and then drag that down. That allows us to right click on the purple ones and go to delete. Once we've done that, we can drag that back up to the top. Now that's going to cause one problem, which is that when we press the flag, the yellow car is going to start going straight away, which is obviously not fair. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to bring that down. We're going to put in a control, and we're going to scroll up and go to wait, and we're going to say wait for 3.5 seconds, which is how long the other car talks for. Snap them back together, press the flag, and now they should both start at the same time. The only problem is they also both steer with the same keys, which is not really a two-player game. So what we have to do is we have to pick some other keys that are going to steer the yellow car. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, instead of pressing the right arrow to move this car, we're going to press the X key, which is what tends to happen with two-player games using a keyboard. So when the key X is pressed, turn right, and then when the key Z is pressed, we want it to turn left. That means that two people can sit at the same keyboard and play the same game. So now when we click the flag, I'm going to be trying to steer two cars now, so this could be quite funny. So the red car is steering with left and right, and the yellow car is steering with Z and X, which I can't do both at the same time. But that does mean that the game works. I'm going to drive the yellow car round to the finish line just to check that the rest of the code works, but I think it should do. Let's cut this corner. The red car's stuck. And hopefully it'll go to the end, it'll say the time, and we'll know that that car's the one that's won. Okay, now the good thing with Scratch is that you can log in from home or any other computer, and you can play the game, edit the game, and if you log into your email and click on the verify link, you'll also be able to share it so that other people can play your game as well. To do that, firstly make sure that it's saved. It should save as you go along anyway, but do File and Save Now, and then if you go back to this Scratch button at the top, it will take you back to the Scratch home page. You should still be logged in, and up here we've got a My Stuff folder. If you click on that, it will show you all of the games that you've made. If you click on it, it will open up that game, and you can press the flag and run it, or you can click on full screen and play it full screen. If you want to have a look at the code, click on See Inside, and it will take you back to the editing window.